Hello again, sweet darlings. I am super excited to share this recipe with you for the Feast of St. Joseph on the 19th of March. I chose a traditional Italian recipe that is always made apparently on the Feast of St. Joseph because it also corresponds to Italian Father's Day. So zeppole di San Giuseppe, I mean, I had to make it when I had so much fun saying it. It was a little bit more of a challenging recipe for me. I've never made choux pastry before, but it was so much fun. My toddler had fun making it. It actually, on reflection, wasn't as difficult as the recipe made it sound. I think as long as you are relaxed about whether the donuts come out looking perfect or not. I did adapt the recipe slightly because I had one less egg than I needed for the pastry, and they still turned out really delicious. So that's a top tip, that if you are looking at this recipe and you haven't got 4 eggs and you have 3, you probably will get away with it. And also, I didn't fill them with pastry cream. Now initially I thought I might buy pastry cream, and then I thought I'll make it. And then the day that I decided to make this recipe, we had my stepdaughters with us, and they just love chocolate. And I thought, you know what? If I can fill these donuts with pastry cream, I can fill these donuts with chocolate. So that's what I did. I melted some dark cooking chocolate with double cream and a little bit of butter, and I had a little bit of vanilla extract and kind of thickened it up a little bit so that it was, you know, quite thick, that sauce. And then I just piped it into the center of the donuts and drizzled it over the top of the donuts and put a bit of icing sugar on top, and I loved how it looked. It was super yummy. We ate all of them like within half an hour. I thought maybe I might have some to give to a neighbor, but no chance. So I probably will make them again because they were so much fun. One thing that I learned is that definitely you want, when you're piping the pastry, and you'll see me doing this in the video, you want to make sure that you kind of connect the circle. Now in my mind I was thinking donuts, so there must be a hole in the middle, and I also knew that the dough would rise slightly, so I kind of thought if I gave it a little bit of an angle, when it rose it would kind of meet at the top naturally, and it didn't. So I think it's better if you actually connect the circle yourself as you're piping that pastry round and round. Actually kind of do it like a little mountain almost. I don't know what the official term is. I'm sure that there's like a baking term for how you're supposed to, you know, finish it off at the top. But do that, because then it's gonna like rise and it's all gonna be one piece, and then just pipe in whatever filling you're gonna use. I mean, you could use jam. I thought about using jam and then I realized I didn't have any, so that's why I went for chocolate. And who doesn't love chocolate in the middle of their donuts? Kind of like a chocolate eclair, I suppose. But let's jump into the video. I will show you how relatively easy and very enjoyable it was to make this recipe, and then let's reflect a little bit about St. Joseph and his life and his feast day on the 19th of March. So as we do at the beginning of any baking, I'm getting my ingredients together here, gathering some butter, some granulated sugar, a little bit of salt, all-purpose flour, and eggs. As I said, I didn't end up having 4, I did use 3, and I was lucky to pick up these extra 2 when I went to look for extra eggs underneath my chickens. I'm adding the water here to the dough for the pastry, and what you do first is you do add the water, the butter, sugar, and salt, and then add it into a small pan and whisk it to combine. And you want the butter to melt, obviously, and then you want to bring the whole mixture to a rolling boil, which I will show you in just a moment. While I was waiting for that mixture to come to a rolling boil, I just picked out which nozzle I was going to use for my little piping bag, and I got out my baking tray that I was going to use to lay these pastries out on. I just like to be a little bit prepared if I can. It doesn't always work out that way, but having everything out at the beginning of a recipe does help me move a little bit faster if I need to when kitties are involved. Okay, so in a little bit of slow motion here, this is what the rolling boil ended up looking like. It really didn't take long to reach this stage. I cranked the heat right up, and then I actually turned the heat off because I needed to go outside just quickly to check on something. And when I came back in, what I did is I measured out the flour that goes in, and then you add this all at one time to this kind of butter, water, sugar mixture. Obviously you've taken it off the heat. You mix it in, you kind of have to keep stirring continuously so all of that flour gets absorbed, and then when you let it cool a little bit, and then you add the eggs, which is why I'd been outside. I was hoping for 4 eggs, but I ended up with 3, as I said, so that wasn't the end of the world. But yes, I just had to add the flour here and mix it all up and make sure that it was all combined before bringing it over to the other countertop and adding the eggs in. Okay, so for this recipe, it does recommend that you add each egg individually. I would say that this is important because you want to really stir to combine in the dough. And I was surprised actually every time I kept adding an egg that although it looked very wet, when I did give it a proper stir, it really all got mixed up and ended up being a nice looking dough again. So that's what I'm doing here with the first egg. Once I'd done that, I then scooped it into this piping bag, which was a fairly messy process, so I won't show you that here. But then my toddler had a really lovely time just playing around, and I was pleased to say that although she made quite a big mess here, it was very easy to kind of scoop it back up into the piping bag with a spatula and redo those little donuts myself. They then went into the oven. Now, previously when I've made these, it's only taken about kind of 20 minutes. And this time actually the oven was running a little bit hot, so they took about 10. So the first little round, these mini ones came out, and we taste tested those just as plain donuts. And then I decided for the bigger ones that I made to make a little chocolate filling instead of pastry cream. I put that into the same piping bag that I just washed out, which I'm doing here, and then I filled the bigger donuts that I made with the chocolate cream, which was really just double cream, a bit of butter, vanilla extract, and some dark cooking chocolate. I just used what I had to kind of make a bit of a chocolatey sauce that I thought everybody would really enjoy, and they did, so that was a great success. Now, I would say the lovely thing about this recipe is that you can do all of them at one time on some big baking sheets in your oven, or you can do what I did and kind of experiment with different sizes of donuts, and you could even experiment with different fillings if you wanted to. Obviously, I decided to improvise for this one, and I put chocolate in the middle, but you could use jam, you could make pastry cream, maybe you could get creative and think of something else to fill them with, or just have them plain. They were actually very tasty just by themselves, so I can imagine that they would be a really lovely kind of go-to snack with coffee if you wanted something a little bit extra. My stepdaughter enjoyed having some outside with her little sister, which was super sweet to watch. Okay, so before we dive into talking a little bit about Saint Joseph, and also obviously the dads or the Josephs in our life who we might be thinking about on Italian Father's Day or on the feast of Saint Joseph, I did want to share with you a really interesting bit of kind of, I suppose, cultural trivia that I came across that I wasn't expecting. When I was looking into this and found out that this was a traditional recipe for St. Joseph's Day and Father's Day, I wanted to know why. And apparently there's 2 theories in Italy as to why this has become such a popular dish to celebrate St. Joseph. The first, which I think is more plausible, is that the word zeppole derives from the word zeppa, which is a term for a wooden wedge used by carpenters to level furniture. And because St. Joseph was a carpenter and is the patron saint of carpenters, that's why this dish was chosen, because zeppa is kind of the root word of zeppole. Now, the other theory is that apparently some people in Italy have, for I suppose however long this has been a tradition, believed that when St. Joseph took the Blessed Virgin Mary and baby Jesus to Egypt, on the flight to Egypt, that he might have had to find other ways to make money other than just being a carpenter. And there's a theory apparently that he was like a street market seller who sold pancakes. I mean, I'm not saying that's impossible, but that seems like a little bit more of a leap than kind of the connection to the word that's used by carpenters and the fact that he's a patron saint of carpenters. But anyway, there's 2 theories for you as to why this might be a great dish to celebrate St. Joseph's Day. But the feast for St. Joseph has been celebrated since at least the 10th century, but became widely recognized in the 16th century when Pope Pius V included it in the Roman calendar. And although the date does fall during Lent, the Church has often permitted feasting and celebration on this day. One of the other traditions that I came across was the St. Joseph's table, or tavola di San Giuseppe, which is a Sicilian tradition where families set up a feast table with bread, pasta, fish, and pastries to honor St. Joseph. This tradition began in Italy as a way to give thanks to St. Joseph for ending a famine. Also in Italy and other Catholic countries, people wear red on this day, similar to how green is worn for St. Patrick. And obviously St. Joseph is the patron of workers and fathers, and he's honored as a role model for fathers and for workers, and many parishes hold blessings for fathers and workers during their services. And I'd just like to share the prayer that I included in the booklet with you. We have I'll try to get a shot of it later. We have a lovely picture of St. Joseph with the baby Jesus up in our bedroom, actually, which I really like. And this is also something for me that's kind of new, I suppose, since entering the Catholic Church, is that, when I was growing up, I kind of always saw the images of St. Joseph as a young man, but from everything that I've been reading and kind of learning, it seems a lot more likely that Joseph was actually, much older than Mary, and so these images where he's kind of an older man holding the baby Jesus, there's something very beautiful about that, I think, and, possibly more accurate. O glorious Saint Joseph, guardian of the Holy Family and patron of the Church, you placed your faith and trust in God's plan. With a father's heart you cared for Jesus and Mary, providing for them in humility and love. Protect our families as you protected the Holy Family. Guide us in our work and daily labors, teaching us to serve with faith and diligence. Strengthen fathers, workers, and all those who seek your intercession. O Saint Joseph, patron of a happy death, be with us until our final moments, that we may, like you, die in the arms of Jesus and Mary. Amen. I love that prayer. I think that last bit is really, really nice. I also wanted to share with you, I suppose, a little story from my own life about fathers, and also, in a way, kind of adopted fathers, which is, what Saint Joseph is to Jesus. He does everything that a father should do for Jesus and cares for him and keeps him safe, but he isn't actually his father. And obviously in our world today, that is quite common, actually, that maybe people have mothers or fathers caring for them who are not their biological mothers or fathers. But from my own experience, when my dad passed away when I was 14, almost 15, I think a male influence in your life, whether you're a young woman or a young man, is very important. And so you kind of seek out those connections with other people. It doesn't mean that those people ever replace your father or mother, but you kind of seek that energy and that influence and that guidance. And my parents had kind of a group of two other couples, and both of the men of those couples, were really good friends with my dad. Very great sense of humor, really funny guys, both ex-teachers, and they actually composed and sang a song at my dad's funeral. Very, very funny guys. But I really appreciated them in my life after my dad passed away, because they did kind of give me that guidance and that male influence or perspective on a lot of situations. I think there's something about speaking to a man who is much older than you, who really has life experience, that is invaluable. I did go through a period of time in my life where I kind of pulled away from that, and I was very arrogant, and I thought, well, I haven't really got anything to learn from you older people. And I'm very pleased that was like a short phase in my life. Really, it kind of ended when I met my husband, because I think I was giving him some pushback, or he might have actually noticed me kind of having an interaction with someone and being a bit closed-minded, and he said, don't assume that those people have nothing to teach you. And he was right. So now I try to be more open-minded, especially with older people who have more life experience than me, just to listen, because although they might have lived in a different time and things were different, or maybe they have kind of a different perspective, that doesn't mean that they haven't gathered wisdom during their life. Many of them have. I suppose that's just something that I've learned. Maybe I would have learned it from my dad if he'd been around longer, just that sometimes you really do need to listen to your elders. And you also do need, I think as young women, you need some good male role models in your life to help you find a good man in the future. that definitely is one of those stereotypes that is true. And also for young men, obviously incredibly important to have a good male role model, which is so lacking for so many young men now, which is such a terrible shame. And you kind of see the results of it everywhere. So I am very grateful to those men, as I'm sure Mary was incredibly grateful to Saint Joseph for giving his life to protect Jesus and her and to provide for them, and no doubt to guide Jesus in many ways, and obviously teach him his craft, give him those skills and the ability to work hard and to persevere and to create things, wonderful things, which carried him through to his ministry. So that was just my little reflection on Saint Joseph. He's not a saint that I would pray regularly to, I suppose. I know a lot of people feel a very strong devotion to him. Maybe that's perhaps more of a masculine thing, that fathers would feel that close connection, but definitely he's a great one to call on for the protection of family, which is why we have him up in our bedroom where we sleep with our 2 little girls, just as a reminder that he's watching over us and our family, and hopefully helping us towards the good and to do God's will in our life. But anyway, I hope that you really love making these donuts. I am thinking about already when I'm going to get to make them again. I will probably find an excuse to make them, like if I go to a friend's house and they ask me to bring a cake, I might make these, and that'll be good fun. Or it's just a fun thing to bake with my daughter, because she loved the piping bag, which you will have already seen in the video. But I hope that all of you who are along on this journey with me are enjoying it, that you're finding these recipes and reflections really enriching and a manageable length. I would love to hear how you're enjoying them down below. And also, oh hello, oh my beautiful, it's my beautiful helper from the baking. I was just telling one of our friends about how you helped to make the donuts. Did you help make the donuts? Yes, you did. You helped with the pastry. Right, well, it's post-nap time, so it's going to be time for some nice milk and making dinner. But thank you all so much again for tuning into this video. I hope to see you all here again soon for the next one. But in the meantime, take good care and God bless. Oh, hi, my baby. How was your nap? It was a very long nap.